A group of high school girls meet in secret to fight the patriarchy at their school. Meanwhile, a group of high school boys meet in secret to express themselves away from controlling adults. Today on Something Old, Something New, we're looking at two films about groups of high school students rebelling against the status quo. The newly released Netflix film Moxie, as well as the late 80s classic Dead Poets Society. Let's ride! Something new this month is the 2021 Netflix original Moxie. This is a good book-to-movie teen drama with political charge. The core message can be summarized by something the principal says at one point during the movie. If you want a seat at the table, you need to pull up a chair. Moxie's messages are largely positive and important to hear, especially for teen girls. If you want to be heard, sometimes you need to shout. And on that note, Moxie is far from subtle. Sure, this makes its messages as clear as possible, but it also hurts the story writing sometimes. Moxie also doesn't really address the hidden, more sinister and masked forces of patriarchy behind the scenes. It's not institutions or big social structures that are the opposition, but instead it's a fight against obvious strawmen, like the football captain Mitchell Wilson. Many of the inciting incidents can feel contrived in order to bring up more and more important topics and issues. And sometimes, the blunt and heavy-handed nature of the film's politics can make it feel like an after-school special, lacking in any subtlety. If Moxie had been a series instead of a movie, maybe it could have brought up a couple of important topics or issues each episode, and then give each one attention and focus that they deserve. But because Moxie is only one movie, the many issues here are dug into only superficially, and there's a particular topic touched on late in the film, which, for a hint, it involves an anonymous letter, that is so big and important that it feels like a disservice to shove it in within the last half hour as some sort of abrupt plot device. Moxie is 2 parts feminist politics and 1 part standard teen drama. There is boy drama in the form of Seth, the woman's ally who is kind of Gary Sue levels of nice. Then there is the best friend drama with Claudia, who adds an interesting dynamic to the film because she comes from a more conservative Chinese household, and she wants to help the cause but doesn't really know how much she can get away with or get involved with between her family restrictions and her own introverted personality. The teen drama elements are pretty standard fare, and sometimes they mix well with the film's main feminist revolution plotline, while other times the film juggles between the 2 parts a little awkwardly. Hadley Robinson does a great job as our main protagonist, Vivian Carter, and the supporting cast is all around great and features many non-white actors. I hope this film can be a great career starter for many of these young actors. The camera work and lighting have some strong moments and some weak moments, and the punk music is great when it's used, but I feel like it could have been used a lot more frequently. I mean, the film is called Moxie and seems to have a punk aesthetic, and yet the punk music only plays maybe half the time there's music. All in all, Moxie may not be a 10 out of 10 work of high art, but it's a great teen film that empowers young women, and that's cool. I give Moxie a 3 out of 5. For Something Old this month, I wanted to talk about the film Dead Poets Society. While The Truman Show is my favorite Peter Weir film, and it's also my favorite film in general, I do get why Dead Poets Society is so well regarded and why it's often liked more. And by the way, it was also really interesting to think about this movie in relation to Moxie, because while they do share the general concept of a group of same-gendered high school students leading some kind of rebellion, they are very different movies in terms of style and execution. Dead Poets Society has a certain mysticism to it that feels very common to Peter Weir. The boys wander out to a cave at night to read poems, play music, talk about or talk to girls, and do a range of activities that range from mildly to moderately subversive. The Dead Poets Society itself isn't really trying to change the school or the world around them. Instead, they're just trying to escape into a safer place where they can just be themselves, when the world around them has planned out their lives from beginning to end, and they feel like they don't have control. This is one thing they have control over. While Moxie focuses on one main character, Dead Poets Society divides its time between several different boys. A young Ethan Hawke plays Todd, a quiet boy with parents who don't seem to recognize he even exists as anything other than his older brother's shadow. Neil Perry is being given the chance to live the life his father missed out on, but all Neil wants to do is be in a play. Knox is in love with a girl, and all Charlie Dalton wants to do, all Nuwanda wants to do is grab life by the horns. Moxie is about an outward revolution, and Dead Poets Society is all inward. The film is restricted primarily to the setting of the school, which becomes a symbol of oppression. Robin Williams stars in one of his most famous roles as Mr. Keating, a literature teacher who uses romantic poetry, such as the work of Walt Whitman, to inspire the young boys into becoming independent and free-thinking spirits. Dead Poets Society isn't structured like most stories. There are many separate storylines proceeding at different paces, but by the midway point of the movie, the stories become more engrossing, and the film takes on a strong stylistic identity. In retrospect, Mr. Keating's character might be unfortunately simplistic. The movie played a big role in popularizing the trope of the inspirational high school teacher, but I do think he is being used sometimes as a plot device, and a vehicle for heavy-handed themes more than as a genuine standout character. And I could understand it if someone didn't like the movie for how slow it is, or how certain mental health topics are handled later on in the film. But Dead Poets Society is a great film. It's wonderfully self-contained and complete, and the kind of movie you can get more and more out of each time you watch it. The themes it touches on are just as relevant to young people now as they were over 30 years ago, and it feels pretty timeless. I give Dead Poets Society a 4.5 out of 5. And there you have it. 2 films about young people rebelling against the status quo. I love to see it. I honestly wish there were more films like this. But what do you think of Moxie and Dead Poets Society? What is your favorite teen rebellion film? Let me know in the comments if that so pleases you, and I will see you next month for something old, something new. Ciao!